Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, this is Dr. Shazira. In this video, you are going to see few examples in trapezoidal rule. Consider this problem where you are given the function values in terms of tabulated data. Okay, so you are given data, 6 data here, x from 0 to 10. Okay, and then the corresponding function, the corresponding value of fx. Okay, so you want to estimate the integral of fx dx from 0 to 10. Okay, now recall the trapezoidal formula in general, where you have this. Okay, so this one here is the composite trapezoidal rule in general. Okay, so now you can see in the formula you have h, and then you also need to determine your n here. Okay, so based on our data here, if you can imagine this is your x0 and this is x1, x2, x3 up to x5 somehow. And the corresponding f would be f0, f1 up to f5 as well. Okay, so in this case, our n is what? Basically, you look at the last element, okay, the last data points that you have. So in this case, your n is 5. Okay, and h, okay, if you have the tabulated data, then h can be seen as the difference between two consecutive x. So you see from x1 to x0, okay, or x0 to x1, you see the difference is 2. Okay, from x1 to x2, you have 4 minus 2, so h is 2. And then if we plug into the formula, then we have, therefore, the integral of fx dx from 0 to 10, that is the limit that the question asks you to do. Now it's approximately h. Okay, so I will put in general first, so h over 2, and then in the bracket you are going to have f0 plus, now the fn is f5, okay, plus 2 times the remaining of f, okay, in between f0 to f5. So you have f1 plus f2 plus f3 plus f4, only up to f4, because f5 is already been considered here. Okay, now the rest is just plug in the values, okay, into the formula, where h is 2, so you have 2 over 2 here. So f0, okay, based on your the given data, then f0 is 1 plus f5. f5 is the last points, okay, so 6, all right, plus 2 times the remaining. So f1 is 5, f2 is 7, f3 plus 4, and then plus 2. Okay, and the rest is just to simplify, okay, all the terms, okay, plus, minus here and there. So for this one, you are supposed to have the final answer is 43. Okay, so very simple. So if you are given the tabulated data, then the calculation is basically very straightforward. You just need to identify what is your h and what is your n. Okay, the rest is you just put into the trapezoidal formula. Okay, so very simple, easy to calculate if you have this kind of data, okay, this kind of questions, okay, where your function values is given in terms of tabulated data. Now let us see the second example, where your function fx is given in terms of expression. Okay, and now consider this problem where you have the function here. So this is what I mean by the function. Okay, you are given the expression of the fx. Okay, so the square root of exponent of x sine x cos 2x dx, okay, from pi to 2 pi. Okay, but first please make sure that your calculator is in the radian mode, okay, because you have the trigo function over there. Okay, and then given to you h is pi over 10. Okay, so in the problem, it should be given either h or n should be stated. Okay, because you know from the formula of h is b minus a over n. So if it is given to you h, you should be able to get n, okay, where n is b minus a over h. Okay, but sometimes the problem gives you n. Okay, in that case, you need to find h on your own based on this relation h equals b minus a over n here. All right, so h is known. So first thing first, you need to get your n. So n is equal to b minus a over n. So b is your upper limit. So upper limit is 2 pi. Okay, lower limit is a. So pi over h. Okay, your h is pi over 10. Okay, so at the top we have pi, and at the bottom we have pi over 10. So it is 10 over pi. Okay, so you can cancel out pi, and then n will be 10. Okay, n equals 10. So what happened next? Now, if we take out our function fx, it is exponent, the square root of exponent of x, sine x, cos 2x. Okay, so the trapezoidal formula would be the integral, of the fx. So assume, the dot over there is the whole expression of fx. Okay, I just put the dot over there. Okay, but you should write in full. Okay, is approximately h over 2 times. Okay, now the first is always f naught, and the last, the last f in this case would be your f10. Okay, because your n is 10. Okay, so f10 plus 2 times the remaining. Okay, so you have f1 plus f2, so on and so forth up to f9, which can be written as the summation. Okay, because we know, the addition, the whole f1 plus f2, f3 up to f9, okay, is actually the summation value. So it is the summation of fi, okay, where fi start from 1 up to 9 only. Okay, the remaining of f, okay, in between f0 and f10. Okay, so that would be the trapezoidal rule or trapezoidal formula, okay, based on this example here. Now, make a table consists of column I, xi, okay, and we have two columns for the f. So here I'm going to put the first and the last. So the first and the last is f0 and f10. Okay, and the last column would be the fi. Okay, but this one is for the remaining of f other than, uh, the first and last. Okay, other than f0 and f10. Okay, so your I start from 0 up to n. Okay, so 0 up to 10. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, your I must stop at your n. Okay, so at the first place just now, you identify your n. So, okay, make sure your I start from 0 up to your value of n. And then the value of x, okay, start with your lower limit. Okay, so look at your integral here. So the lower limit is pi. Okay, so the first one should be pi. Okay, so the next x would be pi plus h. Okay, because we know h is the difference between two consecutive x. Okay, so in the other way around, the next value of x is, x naught plus h. Okay, so it means here, since our h is pi over 10, so this value here is pi plus pi over 10. So it means you have 11 pi over 10. Okay, the next value then would be 11 pi over 10 plus with h plus pi over 10. Then you will have 12 pi over 10. So this is 13 pi over 10. So on and so forth up to I equals 10. Okay, so the last x here it's actually 20 pi over 10. Okay, but you know 20 over 10 can be simplified, so you should end up with 2 pi at the end. Okay, and make sure, okay, this one pi here should tally with your lower limit. Okay, start with your lower limit. Somehow when you increase by h, okay, so at the end you must make sure you end up with your upper limit somehow. Okay, if you know you end up with the value, the something else, okay, then you should know there's something wrong in your calculation. Okay, maybe you wrongly added the value, yeah, somewhere here. Okay, so make sure you start with your lower limit, okay, and somehow should end up with your upper limit, okay, pi to 2 pi in this case. Now, for every x that you have, you need to get the corresponding f. Okay, so how do we get the value of f? Okay, since we know the function fx here, so we can basically substitute. Okay, when x is pi, so you put here exponent of pi, sine pi, cos 2 pi. Okay, so just use your calculator to do that. All right, I hope you're okay with that. So you may want to store the formula here first in general here in terms of x here in your calculator, and then for each of x that you have here, you just press the calculate button and take the value. Okay, so for f naught, okay, when x is pi, so you plug in the value, so you know sine pi is 0 somehow, so this part here will be 0. Okay, the value of f naught will be 0. Okay, so since this column is dedicated for f naught and f10 only, so we have at the top and at the bottom only. Okay, so this is 0 as well, somewhere here. When x is 2 pi, you plug in into the fx function, and then you will get, you know, your f is 0. Okay, so now the remaining. So f1 here, so this is, you know, the f1. So f1, basically you substitute your x with 11 pi over 10. Okay, so on and so forth. So for every x that you have here, you need to get the corresponding f. So I just give you the value here, but make sure you do on your own and make sure you have the same one. Alright, so these are all the values of fi. Okay, you should have that. And now, okay, next is just to plug in. Okay, plug in into this trapezoidal formula here. Okay, so therefore, the integral of, you know, exponent of x, sine x, cos 2x, dx from pi to 2 pi, then will be h over 2. So in this case, our h is pi over 10. Okay, be careful because here you have h in the fraction form. Okay, so at the top is your h, and at the bottom is 2. Okay, h over 2 times the first and the last. Okay, so here you have f naught plus f10. Okay, f naught plus f10. So I would recommend for you to get the summation values here. Okay, so 0 plus 0. So this column, yeah, the summation is 0. So it means that f naught and f10 here is basically straight away 0. Plus 2 times, okay, so you see here, 2 times, you know, the summation of fi. So the summation of fi here basically referring to the summation of this column here. So that's why, you know, I suggest to you to separate your f, you know, into 2 columns. And the first one is for the first and the last, and the next column is for the remaining. Okay, so the same thing, you find the summation, you know, of this column here. So this one would be 21.9075. Okay, so that is the summation value of this column here. So it means in your trapezoidal formula, it would be 2 times 21.9075. Okay, Okay, so please, get the summation values first, because sometimes when the student put one by one in the expression, I mean, sometimes student do this instead of writing the summation. Student put h over 2. The first one is f naught is 0, plus the last value is 0 plus 2 times the remaining. So you put one by one, negative 1.4072 plus negative 1.1963 plus 1.9266 and so on. Okay, so the tendency to make mistake is bigger here compared to this way. Okay, so I would suggest for you to get the summation value of this column first, and then just put only one whole value here, yeah, in your trapezoidal formula. All right, and then the rest is just to simplify. Okay, so you should have here the final answer should be 6.8824. Okay, all right. So okay, we have, if we recall, okay, if we have two examples. Okay, so you might be given your fx in terms of tabulated data, but somehow this is not quite popular to be asked. Okay, so you normally have this kind of questions, okay, in your test or in your final exam. Okay, because if it is given in this way, the question would be more interesting, because you need to get your own values. Okay, so please review this carefully and make sure you understand um, you know, every single steps, okay, that you need to perform in the trapezoidal formula. Alright, so I think that's all for the trapezoidal. Next, we will have 1/3 Simpson's rule. Okay, so thank you so much. Bye bye.